Hello everyone. In this section, we will discuss how to visualize models, data and training with TensorBoard. So these are the topics we are going to cover. First, we will discuss how to install and set up TensorBoard in our system. Next, we will discuss how to visualize models, data and training with TensorBoard. So let's start with the first topic, that is how to install and set up TensorBoard. For this, I am going to use the Anaconda prompt. So this is the which I am going to use in a Anaconda prompt. First, I will activate my environment, that is my tens, which I have already created. After that, I'm going to use the command conda install -c conda for TensorBoard. So TensorBoard has successfully installed in our system. Now we will load the TensorBoard in our Jupyter notebook. For loading extension of TensorBoard, I am going to use the command load extension TensorBoard. I have already loaded it, but if you want to reload, this command is going to use. Once that is done, you have to set a log directory. This is where TensorBoard will store all the logs. So it will read from these logs in order to display the various visualizations. So this is the path of the directory in which I have created the two folders, that is tempfold and tenfolds, in which all the logs files are stored in it. And if you want to clear all the logs so that you can write new ones to the folder, for this you can easily use the command rm-rf logs. So we have imported a datetime, because if you are running multiple experiments, you might want to store all logs so that you can compare their results. So this can be achieved by creating log that are time stamped. So this is the log folder and this is the path of my folder in which I have created two folders, and datetime now is the function name. Let's now walk through an example where you will use TensorBoard to visualize model matrices. For that purpose, we need to build a simple image classification model. So first I have loaded the dataset, and for this I am going to use the MNIST dataset. And also I have used the command tf.keras.dataset.MNIST for loading the dataset, and then I load the train and test data as xtrain, ytrain. Since the input features are between 0 to 255, I will just normalize it dividing by 255. After that, I will create a new sequential model with a single drop out layer as model tf.keras.model sequential. So in the first layer, I have created a flattened layer that will take the input images of shape 28, 28. In the second layer, I have created a dense layer with 512 neurons and the activation function as ReLU, and it is dropped out by the layer with the dropout rate, that is 0.2. And the final output layer has created a dense layer with 10 neurons with the softmax activation function. After that, we will specify the TensorBoard callback during the model fits method. In order to do that, you first have to import the TensorBoard callback. This callback is responsible for logging events such as activation, histograms, matrices, summary plots, profiting and training graph visualization. With that place, you can now create the TensorBoard callback and specify the log directory using logdir. Logdir I have used and mentioned the path of the file. After that, I have passed the histogram frequency to generate activation and weight histogram for layers of the model. Setting this to 0 means that histograms will not be computed, and if it is 1, which means I want the histogram computation for every epoch. After that, write graph. If the graph will be visualized in TensorBoard, by default the value is true. After that, the write image, it indicates that when it is true, model weights are visualized as an image in TensorBoard. In the last, update frequency. It defines how losses and matrices are written to TensorBoard. The next item is to fit the model and pass in the callback. Now to access that in the support interface, we must use the command TensorBoard, that is TensorBoard -log directory and the directory name. And we have now the TensorBoard as we can see in the graph. So if you want to run in the web browser, the TensorBoard is also available via the browser using the TensorFlow following URL, that is http localhost 6006. So the image given from the TensorFlow graph you will generate in the TensorBoard, and this is the main panel. We have already discussed in the previous video. You can check it from. So this is the main graph. We can easily expand and each of these block by clicking the plus sign to see more detail. For example, if I expand the SGD block, we see that it is made up of several components. We can scroll to zoom in and out and click and drag and pan. Now the TensorBoard distribution tab shows the distributions of tensor. For example, in the dense layer, you can see the distribution of weights and bias of every epoch. Using the TensorBoard projector, you can use TensorBoard projector to visualize any vector representation. Example, word embedding and images. So word embedding are numerical representations of words that capture their semantic relationship, and the projector helps you see the representation. So with this we have completed how to visualize models, data and training with TensorBoard.